Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Danae, and I'm here with a message for you. I realize I don't have any cards. There's kind of a good reason for that, but I did mean to drag one of the decks into the frame. But anyway, first and foremost, hello. Happy Friday, December 12th, 2025, 12/12 portal. I almost didn't tap in today, but I was like, girl, you got to catch these vibes. So here I am. All right. First and foremost, okay. So yesterday, right? This is like kind of a quick preview, but not it may not be too official, but it probably is because nothing is ever a coincidence, right? So yesterday I did a Sagittarius specific message, a love message particularly, but it's something in it for everybody. I definitely invite you to check it out. More on that in a little bit. And these were the cards that I used, which are Kev's, Intuitive Kev's Kipperish deck. And so they were still out and about. I was really just gathering them up, shuffling them, and preparing them to put away. But just before I did, these cards showed themselves, okay? Now, these two, interestingly enough, I shuffled these cards like extensively before I was ready to put them away. These two, Awakening and Community, came up yesterday in the actual reading. But what first caught my attention was these two. Because first, believe it or not, they were at the bottom of this deck, and this card slid out: single, sexy, and successful, number 90, and then opposition slid out, and I just bust out laughing. I mean, I'm not one to laugh at people's pain, even though sometimes I find the humor in my own, Sagittarius trait. But something about it on sight it completely evoked hilariousness to me. But the message that I got is that some community somewhere, some association, some group, some collaboration, kinfolk, friend circle, secret society, social network, whatever the hell, maybe a couple of those things, or maybe all of those things, I don't know, is finding out the hard way that what they put their trust and what they invested their time and energy into is fraudulent. And by way of that, I mean, because first this slid out and then this slid out, this is an opposition. This says opposition, and it immediately gave me the vibes that either someone was fronting like they were this, either putting on airs that they were single, sexy, and successful, or they were living above they were living above their means and that right, or they were literally presenting themselves to be someone, not just something, but someone that they are not, and they fucked around and found out. And now, on account of those that they have enlisted, or I don't know, like solicited, maybe even what's the word, incriminated in their foolishness, they're finding out. This awakening card. And yesterday I was laughing because I think it's funny that the girl's hair is standing up on her head, and it's like all was calm at one point until some big bomb has dropped, or some huge revelation has come to light, that who they thought they were working with, or following, or trusting, or da 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 da, fill in the blanks, was actually a complete fraud. She or he, and I'm gonna say something about that in a second too. She or he was nothing like they presented themselves to be. Absolutely nothing. Maybe actually so, given meaning transgender vibes. And I know that seems kind of left field, but it's really not, because for quite a few readings, especially over the past couple of weeks, I've been seeing transgender energy come up after the reading. Like when I go back, I always watch my messages. I know some readers don't, but I always do, because I see layers in what I rewatch, whether it be for me or something I didn't see, a better way I could have said something, a theme or pattern that may be carrying out or need to be carried forward. And that was one of them that I was seeing, like this. And it was in different cards, like in the Rider-Waite, I saw it in the Nightmare Before Christmas deck, but it wasn't until after the reading. And it seemed kind of, I don't know, it seemed kind of petty, honestly, for me to come back and be like, I saw that transgender energy on the next day when it's a whole new energy, But today I got time, apparently, and so does Spirit, because there's a reason for it to be highlighted. And maybe that's the hair-raising revelation, is that somebody that was, as they say, feminine presenting, either a feminine presenting masculine, or someone that literally is trans, or that is a drag queen or a cross-dresser. I guess that's the more PC way to say it. Whatever the case may be, they were fooling some community, or fooling some people, or fooling some suitors, or fooling somebody, at least at some point in time, because she looked damn good, single, sexy, and successful. There was a success rate in however this person was presenting themselves. Maybe it was some type of glamour magic involved, some type of, hocus pocus, or false projection that had people actually believing the presentation. How that carried on, I don't know. Maybe there was no intimacy. I'm not really sure. I really don't even want to get into that, but because it came up at this point, I feel like it was a perfect time to actually say it. But for for all intents and purposes, someone not only has injured themselves by way of their own deception, it seems like they have kind of taken a lot of people down with them. And given this is like a medical card, if you see that in the background, like somebody's been in an emergency room or something, or some type of medical care, it could be by way of something that's been passed around a community, which is not a foreign topic at all. And that was more or less the hair-raising revelation when it came down to kind of tracking the origin of which all this, let's say, contamination or infection was coming from. It all tracked to one place. And it's a very karmic situation with the 100 number here, even like extra completed, like finally completed with 2 zeros, you know what I mean? Like something is done, like so done that you can't even stick a fork in it at this point in time. And that just gave me another image too, when I'm thinking of sticking a fork, sticking a needle. Maybe it's something that is incurable, and so that's really what's raising the outrage. And it's like good to know, because an awakening is better than ignorance. However, the information is devastating in some way, shape, or form. So whether it's as dramatic as some type of like STI, whether that's spiritual or sexual, that's being circulated, or just people just being duped, and misled and misguided, it has grave consequences one way or another. So I'm gonna leave that there. All right. But definitely, like, how that came out, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna share. And honestly, the transgender aspect didn't come out until literally just now, when I was sharing. That's not something that I saw before time. But you see what I'm saying? Like, it always peeks its head after the fact. Like, it's still trying to go undetected, or still trying to keep that identity or that exposure on the low. But the secret is out, at least to those that it's valuable to, I don't know if I'm that person, but is out. Is out for somebody that it matters to. I'm drinking a smooth cup of tea right now, in which the yogi tag says, "Be kind to yourself." So there's that, honey. If there's any kindness or grace left for a person for themselves, have at it. All right, so I'm gonna get into the to the tarot on this. Not necessarily intended for there to be a connection. That might have just been like a side note, to be honest with you. I almost hope that it is. But while I'm cutting these cards, what I am going to announce is that I think I'm going to start doing Sag specific messages. It'll probably be like, maybe it probably will start out being like when I feel guided, before I try to put myself on a schedule that I may or may not be able to stick to. But in my mind, I'm thinking it'll probably be like on the weekend, like Saturday or Sunday, because multiple things. Number one, because I thoroughly enjoy it. It gives me joy to talk about myself. No, not really. To talk about that energy and talk about those that may share those qualities or those energies. That's number one. I really get excited to do those readings, and I didn't even realize how much I would. Second of all, I'm highly qualified because I am a Sagittarius sun sign, and I am quite I would like to believe evolved and expansive in my own energy, like the shadow and the light. To be completely honest, I've done it all, and I'm still evolving through a lot. So I feel extremely qualified. And on the flip side, I feel like I experience a lot of people, well, not a lot, but those that I encounter, because not only do I not really do Sag or zodiac intensive readings, specific readings, I don't really watch a lot of them either. And a main reason for that is because many of the readings that I encounter don't really do the energy a lot of justice. Like, some people, I'm gonna say straight up, and I wish I could call names, because low key I want to help them to just say stop, just please stop. Some people just don't need to read on Sagittarius energy. It comes out in the energy that they're clearly on, they err on the hate aspect of the love-hate vibe. And it almost feels like it's a chore, like they feel like they have to do it, or their arm is being twisted, maybe because they do every other sign, or they can't really find a good reason not to read on the sign or whatever. But it comes through. It definitely comes through when you come across people that respect the frequency and read it with respect, i.e. the ghetto nun always has a good word for the Sag. I always watch her readings. And even how some readers refer to Sagittarius energy when it comes up in general messages, the cards. Some people, you could tell there's something there. And as I've said before, a low vibrational Sag can and will leave a mark. But if you are not unbiased in that expression to the point where it's apparent that maybe you have some trauma from in a personal sense, you just shouldn't do it. You just shouldn't read it. And it's okay. Nobody would, force you to do so or hold it against you. If anything, I'm extremely sensitive to that when I see it and when I feel it, and it almost makes me kind of like pull back from anything else that I feel invested in when it comes to readers that speak from that spirit. But again, Ghetto Nun definitely does Sag justice. Of course, Frankie, I forget her name, older white lady that she does all types of zodiacs and general readings, but I think she is a Sag, so she usually has high vibes for the Sag energy. Lynn, through the eyes of Lynn, he always speaks highly of a Sag. And there used to be a reader, he's long gone now, unfortunately, but I loved his Sagittarius messages, like loved them. And he didn't read on every sign. It was only a handful of signs. but his name was Ocean Only Tarot. But there was some drama surrounding him, and now like he's completely scrubbed, seems like, off the entire internet, which is sad because he had dope music too. Somebody from the UK, believe it or not, white British dude from the UK. But those were the tops, that I would tap into. And there are probably a few more honorable mentions that I can't think of offhand, but as you can see, handful, barely. So everybody just shouldn't do it. They just shouldn't. And if by chance this is reaching the ears of someone that is in this capacity, don't feel obligated. As my phone goes off at 3:53, which is an 11, we don't need it. We actually could do without it. If you don't like the energy, just move on. Seriously, step aside and let a real one come through. And the way that I'm going to read the energy is not exclusive to you having that sign signature in your chart. It will be some of that, so you'll enjoy it if you do. But I feel like there's something deeper that Spirit is calling me to in that Jupiter frequency that, like I said, is a gift for everyone. It's something about the prosperity, the abundance, the expansiveness. I'm probably going to draw more into where Jupiter actually is, or what's going on with that planet, that body, celestially, and then how it affects. And that will probably tie into the messages, whether I even mean to or not. I think that's where it's going. So there's something that I'm being called to embody, to express and expel by way of that kind of, has come out of just happenstance for me. But it probably is purposeful, and I'm just going to follow it and see where it goes. So that's just a heads up that when you see a Sag specific reading, don't think that it's nothing in it for you, because it most likely will be. But if you are a Sag, tap in, baby, because I ain't going to do us dirt. I ain't going to do it. Nothing but the utmost love and respect for you, baby. Even your shadows. All right, so let's see what we got here today. And that Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus. I think Mercury even would be significant, and of course your North Node. That was almost the Two of Pentacles. In case you were unsure, if that includes you, yeah. And if you don't know what those placements are, here's an invitation to go check your birth chart, because you should know your celestial identity at this point. All right, the Emperor. Interesting. Aries energy. What's the Emperor here for? I'll hardly ever lead with the Emperor. That's some strong masculine energy. What's the Emperor talking about? Ooh, Five of Swords. That popped back, so I'm not going to take it, but Five of Swords, some type of conflict. Part of me that the Emperor is either in the midst of or at the head of. Or it could be internal. Let's see. Yikes. The Death card. Either some conflicting ending, or someone that is in a strong position to bring closure or bring an ending, to close a cycle, is conflicted about it or having some type of trouble. And I'm going to say, with the Five of Swords peeking in and peeking out, and the Two of Pentacles, that decision, like up in the air type of thing, type of energy, it might be a conflict of ego or pride. that someone's being called to close a cycle or to stop doing something, maybe stop being a certain type of way. But something about their pride is really, it's creating an internal battle, a struggle. And the death here, yeah, like, and here's more power, like somebody is fully equipped to bring closure. They have all the tools that they need. But remember I said earlier, something's done with that 100 in the karma cycle, in the karma card. It's like somebody has, they might be being called to stop the bullshit, the manipulation. Some type of dark magic or some type of dark ritual, or definitely emphasis on manipulation here with the death card and the magician. Because as I'm saying, like somebody has a great deal of power and influence, but they may have dabbled too long in abusing that power, or they may have overexerted that force in a unfair way for far too long, and they're being urged to stop or else. And what I was going to say is with the death card, it's like the end is near, whether someone is going to submit to that voluntarily, cooperatively, or it's going to be forced upon them. But the end is near. It's like, I ain't gonna say that. Oh, man. Oh, shit. Should I say it? I don't know. Damn. I'm gonna say it. I think I have to with this high priestess coming up. It's like, no, bitch, you better say it. It's like the death march has commenced or is underway. That's what I heard. Or like the death angel has what's the right word? Like has started its march. Is in procession. That's what it is. Yeah. Wow. The angel of death is in procession, and it has its assignment. It has its scroll. It has its coordinates. You know, it's very specific directions, or what's the right word, like a location. I don't know. I don't even know what you call it, but it's on the march. And it's like the only thing that could halt it, as I've said, is for someone to do something that their soul has already been urging them to do, but they just they keep refusing. And it seems like dreadful, you know, for someone to maybe face the type of exposure, or even themselves. Like, I don't know what this is and why it would cause so much anguish. Maybe just being honest or being truthful about themselves or to themselves, releasing some type of secrets or whatever. But whatever it is that they are empowered to do, Source has an expectation for it to be done, as I said, or else. It's like you've had enough time, you've had enough resource, you've had enough grace, you've made enough excuses, you've had enough concessions. Now it's time. Ooh, I just heard for confession, whatever that means. Now it's time for you to come clean. And more importantly, I feel an energy of repentance. That's for somebody to stop doing something that they keep doing. Like they can't seem to help themselves, but it's the thing that's ultimately going to kill them if they don't get some self-control. And the Emperor has all the self-control that a person really, like all the provision of control that a person needs, but it's like they're exerting it on things outside of themselves, as opposed to temperance for themselves. Mm. Oh, man. And see, me saying that there is grace to do something to stop it is really a Hail Mary, because who stops the death march? You know what I'm saying? It's like Final Destination type energy. Like eventually it's coming around. You know, like you would really have to be quite extraordinary in your repentance to be, what's the right word, not retribution, but when you are to be redeemed, yeah, in that capacity. Ooh, King of Cups. Ooh. And especially if you want some spiritual manipulation, which is what I'm sensing, it's time's up for that bullshit. Been time up. And this could be the energy of someone that's already been demoted. They've lost some type of, maybe let's say, territory, leverage, access, notoriety, maybe even gifts or abilities. Maybe, mystically speaking, like the ability to project or discern or psychically intuit. It's because they've been using their psychic gifts to manipulate and control others, other situations, and other people, most likely. That's where the real crime is here. Because that's spiritual assault of the worst kind, if you know what I mean. And somebody's been using their gifts to violate innocence. And it's devastating to them to be exposed in that, right? Because it's unforgivable in a lot of ways, when you think about human conditioning and like the human stance on such things. Like there's a much greater judgment, so it seems, by way of public opinion or perception. But really, the persecution from a divine authority is the only thing that matters, because that's the one that is final and absolute. We can judge one another all day, every day, but 9 times out of 10, like I was saying earlier about Sag, like the shadow and the light, everything that I could say about the shadow is something that I probably experienced or expressed at some point in time. And everything that I would say, 406 on my phone, that's a 10. Everything I would say about anything or anyone else could easily have been me in some other capacity, or has been me in some other capacity, or something, that I could easily be susceptible, pitfall I could easily be susceptible to, especially if you're somebody that has spiritual gifts and abilities. The amount of responsibility and accountability that needs to be sustained so that you don't injure yourself. Here it is, back to Intuitive Kev's cards. Injure yourself or injure someone else, or even a community, a collective of someone else's, is immense. And it's not something that comes in one dose, or you fill up one time in life and you're good to go. It's a continuous revitalization process where you're constantly clearing, you're constantly learning, you're constantly deconditioning, reconditioning, unlearning, forgiving yourself, forgiving others, seeking higher perspective, seeking understanding and overstanding and understanding. And, you know, some people want all of the bells and whistles of and the privilege of giftedness without the responsibility. Damn sure without the accountability. But this is given the energy of someone that was highly, highly gifted, or at least had a great deal of influence and access and reach, you know, impact. And it doesn't feel to me that they managed it well. It's like somebody that kind of like teetered on the line, like doing way too much to be fully righteous or wholly righteous, but not at times not doing. I don't know how to explain this. Like at times not doing. Okay, it's like no, somebody did definitely go low to the pits of hell in some ways. I wouldn't be surprised if I saw the devil card. But they also felt like there was some like a offsetting. That's that Two of Pentacles energy, like some offsetting or balancing of the dark things that they did with the light things that they did. Maybe even loving things that they did, or loving way that they presented themselves. Like a kind person, a compassionate person, a caring person, an emotionally intelligent person. That was the front man. But the darker aspect, the shadow, the depth of someone was far more sinister. And because of this almost harmless, or not harmless, but like a trusting projection, like you can trust me, I'm safe, I'm secure, you know, like I care, whatever, like however they were presenting themselves in this King of Cups energy, they were able to get away with a lot, because that's Scorpio energy where you can really reach someone's soul just in proximity almost. But what you do once you have that soul in your hands is what speaks of your true character. It's not what you do to that soul's face in a way that they, you know, they're completely unsuspecting. It's not what you say to that soul, how you make them feel comfortable and cozy, because all of that may resonate authentically for the soul that's receiving it, but it's what you're doing to them in their psyche, in their subconscious, that is criminal. It's like violating somebody in their sleep. Ooh, poison? Oh my God, this is too dark. 12, what is this? What the frick is this? Oh my God, the Five of Swords is out again. Help me. And it's given that this is all coming, and it came out at a bit of a struggle, because I feel like it's all of that energy is part of the karmic experience, is to now for someone to have to almost like absorb all the things that they were offenders of or perpetuators of at some point in time. And it's coming back to them in a way that they truly do feel it and can feel it, because I'm definitely getting some high narcissistic vibes here, you know, some real emotional, psychological imbalance to operate in such a function or on such a frequency. And a lot of times it's said that those types of energies don't feel much. Like they're not actually very sympathetic or empathetic. You know, they know how to mirror that or to more or less fake that emotion by way of what they observe around themselves and almost like, you know, project it back to you, but they don't really embody it. But this is giving me that somebody is actually feeling a pain that registers for their vessel, their psyche, their subconscious, whatever it is that pierces their auric field. Yeah, that injury that I'm speaking of, whatever it is that pierces their auric field is absolutely being felt or will be. So it's not like somebody's going to be able to like sidestep the backlash or the pain on account of them being kind of emotionally vacant in some type of way or numb. It's like the King of Cups feels deeply. It's like all senses online for whatever this return of energy is about to be or already is. And whatever it is playing for keeps with this Five of Swords. Like this is like, oh no, this is an energy that's going to pretty much like ground you into the dirt until, as I said, like either you repent, confess, shift, cry out, pray. I don't know what needs to happen here, but it's not playing. It's playing for keeps. It's playing for keeps. It's like it's this Emperor King of Cups has met its match in a way that they never anticipated and may never even thought would be possible. Hangman. Yeah, like somebody stuck between a rock and a hard place because the thing that they never thought they would have to do is the only thing that's going to save their soul at this point. If not, all is lost, including them. And it'll just come down to whether or not like they would sacrifice their vitality in that way. Like if somebody would really fall on the sword of their own pride and ego because it just hurts too much, to be honest, to be truthful, to be exposed. And I'm getting that somebody's going to be exposed in life or in death if they allow it to go to those extremes regardless. So at least you could have some control or some input on the narrative. Because once you're gone, it's like you don't have no say on what story is told about you. And somebody ain't going out like no martyr, like no great king or emperor, like, oh, all hail the king. You know how it is, like when people go out and only thing people can talk about is how great you were when really you were a damn tyrant. You know, it's not going down like that. It's going to be a disgraceful death. Wheel of Fortune. Oh boy. Heavy. This thing coming down heavy. And it don't have to be so heavy, but somebody is fighting tooth and nail, or has been, or did. I don't know where we are in this story, but because somebody more or less has been resisting the inevitable, resisting their own fate, maybe even stand in the way of the fate of others by way of that manipulation and psychic abuse and things like that. It's mounted now, you know, that force of reverberation is like, it's more like it's a resounding response at this point. It has echoing quality, reproductive quality. So like I said, in life or in death, somebody's going to get this work. It's just, you know, are you going to take control of the creativity of the, you know, of the fate before you, or are you going to be a victim to it, more or less, or I don't, a sacrifice of it? I don't know. Not so much a victim, but maybe a sacrifice to it. I really get that somebody feels like it would almost be better to self-sacrifice at this point than to face the music. Trust me, the music is much sweeter, because what you don't face in this life, you're going to face it somewhere or at some point. And it might be in a way where your soul has no respite or no relief. It ain't worth it. The menial things that we hold on to in this illusionary three-dimensional existence only have the value that we put on them, and of course the conditioned or projected value that we make agreements with. Otherwise, it's all fluff. None of it really matters. And even when I'm speaking about being in right standing with the divine, it's ultimately just being in integrity with yourself, in your highest mind, your highest form, your purest spirit. And ain't nothing pure about wanting to hurt people in their most vulnerable state. When they trust you to care for them, when they trust you to love them, or at least to not hurt them. And when you've been entrusted with such a great power and responsibility and gift to do well with, ain't nobody been given no gifts to cause harm, that it might be transmuted to benefit whomever is on that receiving end, but that's not why gifts are bestowed. When you get them the divine way, of course. Now, if you get it the diabolical way, you know, that's a different story. But then it wouldn't really be authentic and pure anyway. It would be temporary. It would be fleeting, and it would damn sure be faulty, which is probably what that first spread figured out the hard way, thinking that they could present themselves to be something that they just are not. They weren't born to be, they weren't gifted to be, they weren't ordained to be, they weren't chosen to be, they're not educated to be, they're not experienced to be, they don't have the bloodline to support. You're out of your league. You so far out of your lane that you're driving against traffic head on. Queen of Swords. Time to get real. That's the truth incarnate. The one that can't be denied, and the one that, I mean, maybe, as they say, hurts a little bit. But it is what it is. Somebody's having to face their karma, maybe for the first time in lifetimes. That's what I just heard. When the Wheel of Fortune is here, it's multidimensional. I ain't even gonna play with y'all today, okay? So I ain't in the mood to mince words. Somebody's been getting away with the same old shit for lifetimes at most. Eons, perhaps, whatever that even means comparative to lifetimes. But damn sure for seasons and years. Somebody's been playing the same old tricks, the same old games. You know, the other card that I kept seeing when I was shuffling is Jezebel. I don't know how I almost forgot to say that. And of course, we know the Jezebel frequency can be embodied by a man or a woman, which is also very fascinating for the first spread to this one. But it's like maybe somebody is finally needing to come clean with themselves about who they really desire to be, and what ultimately is probably the root of all the unrest that they cause in other people's lives, because they've never really accepted, as my T-Bag said, be kind to yourself. They've never really accepted themselves for who they are because of the fear, again, of all the things that we are told are important and palatable and understandable and acceptable. Somewhere along the lines that ideology literally took root. And instead of someone allowing themselves the freedom to evolve beyond or decondition that containment, they've rebelled against it quietly, but it grew in the dark like a mold, you know, like a malignant fungus or something in their psyche, because they couldn't outwardly express who they really want to be, you know, who they felt most comfortable being freely. But they resented, especially probably resented people that did have a certain confidence or authenticity in their identity. That's one thing. And also didn't exemplify the courage to, again, take control of their own creativity against all odds, against objections, against opposition from that first spread. They didn't have the balls to do it out loud, so they made other people pay for it quietly, and they found their pleasure and their satisfaction in that. And that's quiet sense of control and tyranny, and ultimately projecting onto others all of their guilt and their shame to embody and to carry around like a cross, and then make them pay for it in their waking lives by the unrest and upheavals that were being incurred on account of this silent intrusion. Yo, this shit gets deep. It gets deep. I've tried to really express it before in past times, and I don't know, like I almost felt like it wasn't time, or it wasn't connecting. But all is being revealed, because it's just time for it to be. So nobody can claim ignorance. And so people can be liberated from the things that have been going on in dark spaces of their psyche or in dark corners of their lives that they just would have never thought to look, never thought to consider. Never in a million years would you think the source of your discontentment could be coming from someone close to you, that the call could be coming from inside the house, if you will. Never would have thought. It wouldn't make any sense. Because everything on the surface is picture perfect. Everything is lovely. Everything is good. Why would you ever look there? You wouldn't. And most people don't. And they go on carrying these burdens cycle after cycle, lifetime after lifetime, and then passing them on to their children like an inheritance. And it's fucked up. So says the divine, because this is where we are. Queen of Pentacles. I just heard past the collection plate. Shut up, Spirit. That's funny. There's something valuable here to be made clear, or that is being made clear. And it's also time for those that are rightfully deserving of, as I'm speaking of, inheritance. That could be celestial, that could be actual, material, whatever it is. The reason for this break in the wheel, so to speak, or maybe not so much of a break, but maybe that was the problem. There was a resistance against the wheel, an opposition against the wheel turning as it should naturally. And now as it's regaining its momentum, it's setting into motion again this transfer of energy by way of such as the pentacles, like value, precious matter that has been withheld on account of these occurrences, where people have not been in alignment to receive because of what's been going on in their psyche that they didn't even know was happening. And also, while they were unaware, mainly unaware of self, it was being siphoned from them whole time. And almost justifiably, because that's the other gotcha that is kind of hard to articulate. It's like there was some type of justification that was made for why this was okay, like why this was fair, this was admissible, like this is just how it's done. If you don't know who you are, you don't know your value, you don't know your worth, you don't know how special you are, then that means it's up for grabs. What they say, move your feet, lose your seat type of energy. And that's just not the case. It's just not the case. It never really was, but it persisted for a very long time. And now it's done. Hard stop. And everything that was withheld is being returned with interest. And it's reuniting those with the value of themselves that has been lost in the shuffle, not for the purposes of a aha, but for the purposes of carrying on the mission, the fate, the fortitude that was already established. That has been established. I keep hearing before the beginning of time. I don't even know I don't even know, but that's what I keep hearing. And now you trying to fuck with time? Like, how you ain't got an army big enough. Motherfucking King of Swords, child. You ain't got an army big enough to hold back time. Even what was thought to have been delayed or held up, pushed back, maybe distorted, perhaps, was still working in the advantage of what the divine saw fit anyway. Anyway. It's like, look at this, how the Queen of Swords, the King of Swords is almost like cornering the Queen of Pentacles. They ain't got no value. I mean, the truth is always valuable, but a lot of times it's the last thing that energies such as, I'm speaking of, really care to consider. If anything, the truth is a liability to energies like that. They act like the truth is power and it's what they lead with and they're so authentic and yada, yada, yada. But in actuality, we speaking of someone that literally is deathly afraid of being exposed, afraid of the truth. So much so that they'd be willing to, they're at least considering sacrificing themselves. And even that is arrogant, because I just heard it's like they feel like, oh, well, I'll come back and do it over. The stakes are not going to be the same for anybody that thinks like that. You're going to be very, very sadly disappointed. And disappointed is a mild way to put it. You're going to be devastated to see the terms in which you may have a do-over if you get a do-over. Emphasis on may. Because not for nothing, we don't even know if that is a thing. So consider, we don't know what's a thing, really. I keep that broad because I have my own convictions or ideals about it that makes sense to me. But the fact is, none of us know what happens after this breath of life. You don't know if you've been here multiple times before, and most don't. Almost nobody knows what they were doing before unless you do some deep diving. You hardly know what happened in your predecessory history to get you to where you are. Some people don't even know how their own actions got them to where they are. So, it ranges, but one thing's for sure. And even if someone were to say, oh, well, I'll catch up in another 10 years, like, let me get through this cycle and, I'll catch it on the flip side. How you're going to make it through a cycle of tribulation? Because that's what I'm seeing. If some people don't turn around, shift, change, think differently, see themselves clearly. Who the hell said you were guaranteed to live through a trial of tribulation? At that point, you might be begging to check out of here before it's all said and done. When the merciful and graceful invitation is for you just to be honest. My phone's going off at 4:37. Is to just be honest. Is that really too much to ask? It seems so. Like, yeah, look. It's like there's a vengeance here, like almost an irritation with this Knight of Swords, definitely a sense of entitlement, but I hope it's for the purposes of truth, pure and authentically, and that alone, because sometimes the Knight of Swords be on some old other stuff. Let's just call it what it is. on a rampage, fast and furious to nowhere, thinking they know something, thinking they the smartest person in the room, thinking they, they have the most clever comeback or the most clever maneuver that's going to ultimately win them the war. And it's like, it don't even have to be all that. If you're not running with this intensity to be honest, then you might as well just turn back around. Don't be coming with no half truths, no spun narratives, no mindless excuses. None of that. It's not going to get you very far. You would either need to be coming in the upright, full throttle Queen and King of Swords capacity, or just stay home. Just stay home. Just forget about it. Just wait for that procession to spin the block. And let that chariot swing low and carry you on home, wherever that may be, because there's just no tolerance for dishonesty and disloyalty in this season. There's no place for it to produce or reproduce, so it's worthless. All right, so I'm out of here. Let's say Tower. Oh my gosh. Oh, Judgment. Didn't even mean to prick that card. And the Nine of Pentacles. And again, like, I've been getting this like dueling dimension energy where it's like there could be disaster striking right around the corner, and it would be of no consequence to those that don't have these hangups. They're not running from their truth. They're not trying to be anything that they're not. They're not trying to have anything more than what's been divinely designed, allotted, fated for them to have. They're not trying to hurt anybody to get ahead. They never have. They never will. Not intentionally, anyway. They mind the business that pays them. They focus on bringing life to situations, being co-creative with the universe and anything they encounter therein and thereof. Being a vessel of light, of prosperity. That's the real single sex. Yo! And it's funny because when I saw that card, I was like, that's either the Nine of Pentacles, single, sexy, and successful. That's either the Nine of Pentacles, and it also was giving me Queen of Wands vibes, like the red energy and, the whole attractive vibe or whatever. And the fact that, the whole Sagittarius characteristic of kind of always being single, ready to make, you get me. So I was like, definitely solid on the Nine of Pentacles, but it could also be the Queen of Wands. And here we are. Here we are. So everything that has been perpetrating a fraud in that energy is falling to its demise. One way or another. Again, whether they jump out of the building and pray to God for a parachute to manifest from their back, or a fireman to be down there holding one of those things, in the old movies when they used to hold like the little trampoline thing to catch you when you fall, or they get pushed out, or God forbid, the flames consume them before they escape at all. Either way, the only recourse here is to douse those flames with truth and sincerity. Anything else is just going to ignite it that much more. that much more. And it's like I said, there's already the procession because it's anticipated based on pattern and track record that these, and maybe even by present actions and mind state, that there is, it's an impossible feat for some to just be honest. It's too excruciating, it's too devastating, it's too mortifying. More mortifying than death, literally. Like, that's the ultimate mortified. Oh, goodness. I don't know, child. But this is definitely a turn. This is a transitional moment. This is a pivotal moment for some. Maybe someone, maybe it's super specific, maybe it's not, but it's pivotal. And it's damn near life or death. If people don't get real, and I ain't talking about people that just haven't found themselves yet and they're still trying to figure it out. I'm talking about people that don't want to be themselves. They want to be something or someone else, and they'll do anything to absorb that identity and expel it back for the purposes of profiting or advancing or manipulating or benefiting in some way, even if it's just a personal satisfaction. Like, there's something sinister here that it's a strict divine order must cease and desist, literally. Or else. So I'm gonna leave it here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Most likely I'll be chilling. I don't know. I won't say that because I might get the itch to come on tomorrow. Who freaking knows? We shall see. But in any event, I hope you enjoy your weekend. What is this? Like the last shopping weekend, or is that next week? I think this weekend, next weekend. Don't do too much. Definitely stay alert out there about your surroundings to and fro, and stay merry. Stay as merry and bright as you possibly can be, no matter what you encounter. And if you're encountering the opposite of that, it's probably best that you just get up out of there, whatever that may be. A holiday party, in the malls, out shopping, out eating, whatever it is. Like, don't allow your light to be dimmed by any false projections, because that's all that they are. It's just false. They're just illusionary. All right. You get to project the truth as you perceive it and conceive it. You have that power. All right. So again, thanks for listening and watching. Until next time, as always, I'll leave you with peace.